Okay, so here's an update on the house that we're building to live in. Now, I hired framers to do this because now I would have tackled this in my younger days. If I was in my 30s, even in my 40s, I would have framed this by myself. I mean, but at my age, and plus, time is too. It would take me obviously a lot longer. So anyways, I just contracted guys to frame it. Now I hired a guy that I contract with, and then he runs different crews. And I actually had the original crew that started on this last week. They bailed. I don't know what happened. They bailed, and so he brought another crew out here yesterday. Who's the first crew? Well, they sucked. They're like tract framers. They build tract houses for big builders, which are real simple. This is a custom home. It's a little more complicated. Okay, they should have still been able to handle it, but I mean, they were making a lot of mistakes. I was coming here, I was here all the time, I was correcting mistakes. They're doing stuff wrong. I mean, just a lot. I mean, even they framed some doors at 6'8", and these are all 8-foot doors because there's 10 and 12-foot ceilings in here. And because I guess that's what they're used to, they took the headers out. Doorways the wrong size. They started putting the ceiling joists 24 inches on center, and no, they're 16 inches on center. I drew the plans. I'm a framer, so I drew the plans as a framer. So I gave them more information than any architect would, because I'm a framer and I know exactly what information framers need. I mean, I gave them all the sizes and the quantities, like, from here to here is 10-foot 2x6s. From here to here is 14-foot 2x8s. Whatever. The whole layout for the whole reflected ceiling plan, showing the spacing and the size of all the ceiling joists, for example. Now, I didn't do that with the roof framing because it's not necessary, but it is for the ceiling joists. Roof framing is, you just do it as you go. Anyway, so they had to take all those out and move them. It's just all the stuff. Just having a headache with them. And I told the guys that these guys they're not good. I told the guy that I contracted with. But I said, we'll get through it. But anyway, they ended up bailing. They didn't want to come back for whatever. I didn't have any, I mean, we were on good terms. It's not like I had any arguments with him or anything. It wasn't like that. I think he was just, I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, so now I got these new guys in here, and they're good. I mean, they know what they're doing. I didn't have to say anything. Just when they first came yesterday, and then I was gone for pretty much the whole day. I came back today, and I see well, it's hard to see now, but, and I'll be doing updates as a house, but we did squares, and this will be coffered, so this will be wrapped with 8-inch crown molding, and then there'll be crown molding, where this ceiling meets. This is 12-foot ceilings in here. So it's like a coffered ceiling, so this will all get wrapped with drywall, square edge bead. Instead of wrapping, it's cheaper than wrapping it with wood. And then I just don't have them put any texture on this. I have them do like a smooth wall finish, and when it's up, it looks like wood. You can't tell when it's painted, it looks like wood. Instead of wrapping all this with 1x6s, and it's involved and expensive. But I just I'll wrap all these squares with a crown molding. So there's a coffer detail in here. I mean, I didn't even have to explain. I gave them exact details on everything here, how to do it and everything. So the other framers should have been able to do it, but they were even having problems with that. These guys just came in and looked at the plan and did it. I didn't even have to tell them what to do. So anyway, and then like here, 24-foot 2x12s are like $75 a piece. I mean, they're insane. I don't know why. That's just the way they're priced. Okay, and I got bids from two different lumber yards, and they were both expensive on those. So for whatever reason, it's like the pricing from some months ago when lumber was really high. So I'm like, okay, I'm not going to do that. So what I did is I bought 20s. 20s were $25 or $26 for a 20-foot. So it was like $50 for 4 more feet. But then I could buy a 10-foot for like $8 or $9. So between the two, I'm in like $35 between these two. And all they got to do is nail them together. Put a bunch of nails in. I said, put 60 or 70 nails in. I'll buy an extra box of nails, which was like $55, and which is what I did. And then just splice them. Just a little bit extra work. It's not that big of a deal. And so I saved like $40 a piece, right? So 75 versus the cost of two of these are 35. There's a lot of these. Here I used 24s. I didn't want any splicing here. So these I bit the bullet, and I had to buy the full length ones to span for all these here. But here, and then also in the garage, it's a way to save money. See, I did the same thing in the garage because the garage is 24 feet. It's actually more than 24 feet. Because we built this house in Florida, and it's the same floor plan. It's just, and down there everything is trusses and concrete block. So it didn't matter that the inside dimension of the garage is 24 feet because he didn't care about having to buy lumber to span the ceiling because it's all trusses. So here, even I would have had to buy 26 footers, which God knows how much those would have been. Anyway, so I had him do the same thing in here. But you see it at $40, you know, 40, 40, 40, 40, 40, 40, 40. You know, I think I penciled, it was like a couple grand I saved, right? A couple grand. That's a lot of money, right? I think this whole framing package with the siding and everything for this house, it's a little under 2,000 square feet. It's got a big 3-car garage. So the 3-car garage is, I think it's 32 by 24. So it's a good size house, 10-foot ceilings and 12-foot ceilings, including all the siding and everything, was under 20 grand. As I had said in a previous video, we poured the slab over a year ago, and that's when lumber was really high, and I just, you know, we decided to just wait because I'm not paying, you know, $60 or $50 for sheet of OSB. Now it's like $8 or $9, for example. So anyway, so the slab sat here, and then we're living for free in the place that we bought for cash in the subdivision. So, but anyway, getting back to this, yeah, it's a good way to save money. It's something to think about. Now, these you always pay more for lengths over between 16 and 20 foot on any kind of dimension of lumber, and then there's another pricing for 20 to 24 foot, and then once you get over 24 foot, they make up to 30, then it usually becomes finger jointed, and that's another pricing per foot, you know, but not 75, you know, there's not that a $50 difference, and there's just, for some reason, the 24 foot is just really expensive. It's not usually a $50 difference between a 24 foot board and a, you know, a 2x12 or whatever the dimension. It's not usually that big of it. So I think they don't use that many, so maybe they're still the old supply chain pricing from when lumber was really high. That's probably what it is. Anyway, it's something to think about. It's a way to save money. The other thing is glulam beams are insane. I mean, this would be like a $1,000 beam for an 18-foot garage door. So I'm like, okay, let's do a 2x12, double 2x12, and then an encapsulated 2x8 on top. So you got 20, I mean, that's a beam. And this probably cost me $100 in lumber. I don't know, I didn't figure it out, but, you know, it's two 20-foot 2x12s, and then two 20-foot 2x8s, and they're sandwiched, you know, as you can see how I like my headers like this. 2x4 on top and bottom. I had them do all the headers in the house that way. These are 2x6, the same thing. Yeah, we can't get 4x, like when I was on the West Coast, 4x lumber, as everybody uses 4x, or even 6x, because it's all Douglas fir. So, but, you know, once you get away from the West Coast, and it's southern yellow pine, or SPF, which is spruce pine fir, you know, the white stuff, it's hard to get 4x material. Anyway, so I had them do this. This was another way to save money. So this became a $100 beam instead of a $1,000 beam. And for them, it's, you know, they know all this stuff up front. It's all explained to them. So it's not like, geez, I didn't know I had to do that. You know, that you don't want to have that conversation. Anyway, so, and then these guys are $6 a square foot for labor, and then they pay for the nails. It's because it's all siding. If it wasn't all siding, it was brick, and there was just you know, your overhangs and stuff for our hardy board, just your overhangs and your fascias, and maybe there was a little bit of siding in the gable. It'd be around $475, but because the whole house is siding on the outside, and it's 5-inch exposure hardy, so it's a 6 1/4 hardy board, but it's a 5-inch exposure, which means there's more rows. It's $6 a square foot. For labor, and that's went up quite a bit. I mean, before COVID, you know, it's went up probably $1.50 a square foot since COVID, which is fine. I mean, because everybody else's expenses went up, so it's natural. Anyway, yeah. So that's kind of what I'm doing here. We've got banks of windows. I like to put 2 2x4s between my windows because I like my windows close together. And then when you wrap it on the inside with trim, it looks nice because I always wrap all my windows. I don't just drywall windows and just put in a sill. Whether I'm building for resale or whatever, I'll get it trimmed all the way around, and I'll have a you know, a high-end trim package in here because I'm living in here. Anyway, so what I do is I'll do a continuous header, and then I'll just have them put the 2x4s, double 2x4s, and then, you know, your sill. I did that here, and this is a sliding glass door. Yeah, I don't like French doors. I like sliding glass doors. I'm old school. You know, these are all vinyl windows in here, and there's a bank of windows here, and the same thing in the master bedroom. A bank of windows and a door. And then I'm doing a ceiling detail here. It didn't turn out the way I wanted. I wasn't thinking when I drew the plans about the hip being in the way. This hip rafter. So I like this 2 feet out from the wall. Now it's, I don't know, I'm gonna say probably good 32 inches out. So it makes the box in the middle much smaller. There's more to it. I'll as the house progresses, I'll show more of that. So that the box in the raised box in the middle ends up smaller than I like. It's not proportionate, but there's nothing to do because I'm not going to have them notching the hip rafter and then having the hip rafter sit on these. It's too much weight for this. So anyway, I just was an oversight in the plans. I knew that the rafters would be in the way a bit, and I might not get 2 feet out. I might get 2 feet 2 or something because it's only a 5/12 pitch. But I forgot the hip really changed it. So because the hip is down even lower. So anyway, but it is what it is. We'll make it work. It still look nice. Yeah. So that's kind of it. I mean, at this point, they should be coming in the next hour or so, and they got most of the rafter. They cut all the rafters, the different length rafters at a time, and then they put them in groups. See here, they've got groups of them here. They're all cut. All the tapers are cut. So they should start throwing rafters up pretty quick because most of once they get their hips and ridges all set, and actually the old framers had, the original framers had set most of the hips and ridges. See, they got these are all cut and ready to go all the different lengths. This is a hip roof all the way around. There's no gables. Why? Because it's cheaper. I don't care about the outside. I live on the inside. I don't care about the outside. Here's another group. So I just did 5/12 pitch, hip roof all the way around. It's cheaper, easier, less wood. Anyway, yeah, so they'll come in and see they've got most of their, well, it's hard to see here, but anyway, most of their hip and ridges are up. They got to bring a hip down here to this corner and one over in that corner. But anyway, so then they'll just start filling in. So anyway, yeah, so that's that. There'll be more updates. So I got to go to work on the other house, the one I'm selling, because I'm installing kitchen cabinets. Okay, back to work.